Right now, as you're watching this video, your mind is probably doing at least 3 other things. Maybe you're mentally rehearsing a conversation you need to have later. Maybe you're worrying about something that happened yesterday. Maybe you're planning dinner while simultaneously judging yourself for not paying full attention. And here's what's wild. You think this is normal. You think a mind that never stops, never rests, never truly settles is just part of being human. But what if I told you that your mind running 24/7 isn't natural at all? What if it's actually a symptom of something we've collectively forgotten how to do? Your mind isn't supposed to be a hamster on a wheel, spinning endlessly with thoughts, worries, plans, and mental chatter. It's supposed to have periods of rest, just like your body needs sleep. But somewhere along the way, we've created a culture where mental rest feels impossible, even irresponsible. Today, I'm going to show you why your constantly running mind is exhausting you more than you realize, and more importantly, how to give it the specific type of rest it desperately needs. This isn't about meditation or mindfulness. This is about something much more fundamental. By the end of this video, you'll understand why mental rest isn't luxury, it's necessity, and you'll have a practical way to give your mind the break it's been craving. Let me paint a picture of what's happening in your head right now. Imagine your mind as a computer with 47 browser tabs open. Each tab is a different thought, worry, plan, or mental task. Some tabs are actively running videos, those urgent, loud thoughts that demand attention. Others are quietly running in the background, slowly draining your mental battery. Now imagine trying to focus on just one tab while all the others keep refreshing, sending notifications, and competing for processing power. That's what your mind feels like most of the day, isn't it? We've somehow convinced ourselves that this mental chaos is productivity, that a busy mind equals an important life, that if we're not constantly thinking, planning, worrying, or processing, we're being lazy or irresponsible. But here's what's actually happening. Your mind is exhausted. Not just tired, exhausted. And just like a body that never rests eventually breaks down, a mind that never rests eventually stops functioning optimally. I realized this in my own life when I noticed that I couldn't watch a movie without my phone, couldn't take a shower without planning my day, couldn't even brush my teeth without my mind racing through tomorrow's to-do list. There was literally no moment in my day when my mind wasn't actively working on something, and I was proud of this. I thought it meant I was driven, focused, productive, until I started noticing the side effects. I was forgetting things constantly. I couldn't concentrate deeply on anything. I felt mentally foggy even after a full night's sleep. Simple decisions felt overwhelming. I was experiencing what I now recognize as chronic mental fatigue. But here's the thing. We don't recognize mental fatigue the way we recognize physical fatigue. When your body is tired, it sends clear signals. Heavy eyelids, sore muscles, the urge to sit down. But when your mind is tired, the signals are more subtle. Difficulty concentrating, mental fog, emotional reactivity, decision paralysis. Your mind has been sending you these signals for a while now, hasn't it? You've probably just been interpreting them as stress or laziness or getting older. But what if they're actually your mind's way of begging for rest? So what does it mean to give your mind rest? This is where most people get it wrong. They think mental rest means scrolling social media, watching Netflix, or playing games on their phone. But those activities aren't rest for your mind. They're just different forms of stimulation. Real mental rest is the absence of directed thinking. It's allowing your mind to exist without having to process, analyze, plan, or solve anything. It's like the difference between changing the channel on your TV and actually turning it off. Let me tell you about a conversation I had with my grandmother when I was struggling with this. I was complaining about feeling mentally exhausted all the time, and she looked at me with this knowing smile and said, "When I was young, we used to sit on the porch and just watch the world go by. No talking, no thinking about chores, just sitting. Your generation has forgotten how to just be." At first, I dismissed this as old-fashioned nostalgia, but then I tried it. I sat on my back steps for 20 minutes with no phone, no book, no agenda, just sitting. And something remarkable happened. For the first time in months, my mind actually got quiet. Not empty, that's not the goal. But quiet, like the difference between a bustling city street and a peaceful forest. Both have sounds, but one allows your nervous system to rest while the other keeps it on high alert. Here's what I discovered. Your mind has natural rhythms, just like your body. There are times when it's naturally alert and focused, and times when it naturally wants to rest and wander. But we've overridden these natural rhythms with caffeine, screens, constant stimulation, and the belief that a resting mind is a wasted mind. Ancient cultures understood this. They had built-in periods of mental rest, Sabbaths, siestas, contemplative practices, seasonal rhythms. These weren't luxuries, they were essential practices for mental health and cognitive function. But modern life has eliminated almost all opportunities for genuine mental rest. We wake up to alarms, immediately grab our phones, consume information all day, and fall asleep to screens. We've created a culture of constant mental stimulation, and then we wonder why we feel overwhelmed, anxious, and mentally exhausted. Here's where this gets really interesting. Neuroscience has discovered something called the default mode network, a network of brain regions that becomes active when you're not focused on the outside world, and your mind is allowed to wander freely. This network is active when you're daydreaming, reflecting, or just existing without a specific mental task. And here's the crucial part. This network is essential for mental health, creativity, self-understanding, and cognitive restoration. When this network is active, your brain is doing incredibly important work. It's consolidating memories, making connections between ideas, processing emotions, and essentially organizing the mental files that got scattered throughout the day. But here's the problem. Most of us never give this network a chance to do its work. We're so addicted to stimulation, so afraid of boredom, so convinced that an unoccupied mind is problematic, that we never allow our brains to enter this restorative state. Think about it. When was the last time you were genuinely bored? When was the last time you sat somewhere with absolutely nothing to do? No stimulation, no entertainment, just you and your own mind. If you can't remember, you're not alone, but you're also missing out on one of the most important functions of the human brain. Let me share a study that blew my mind. Researchers asked people to sit alone in a room for 15 minutes with nothing to do but think. No phone, no book, no music, just sitting. They even offered participants the option to give themselves electric shocks if they got too bored. The result? 67% of men and 25% of women chose to shock themselves rather than sit quietly with their own minds for 15 minutes. We've become so uncomfortable with mental stillness that we'd rather experience physical pain than mental quiet. But here's what happens when you do give your mind genuine rest. Your focus improves dramatically, your creativity increases, your emotional regulation gets better. Problems that seemed impossible suddenly have obvious solutions. You feel more like yourself, calmer, clearer, more centered. I experienced this personally when I started taking what I call thinking walks, 30-minute walks with no podcast, no music, no phone calls, just walking and letting my mind wander. The first few times were uncomfortable. My mind felt restless, anxious, like it needed something to grab onto. But after a week of daily thinking walks, something shifted. Solutions to problems I'd been struggling with for months just appeared. Creative ideas started flowing. I felt more emotionally balanced. It was like my mind had been desperately thirsty and I'd finally given it water. So, how do you actually implement mental rest in a world designed to prevent it? Here are the specific practices that have worked for me and countless others. The 20-minute rule. Start with just 20 minutes a day of genuine mental rest. No input, no stimulation, no agenda. This could be sitting quietly, walking without headphones, or lying down with your eyes closed. The key is no directed thinking, just letting your mind exist without having to work on anything. Digital sunsets. Create a daily period where all screens go off. For me, it's the hour before bed. No phone, no TV, no computer. This gives your mind time to naturally wind down instead of being stimulated until the moment you try to sleep. Boredom tolerance training. This sounds silly, but it's incredibly powerful. Practice being bored. Wait in line without your phone. Sit in your car for 5 minutes before going into the store. Eat a meal without any entertainment. Build your tolerance for understimulation. The thinking chair. Designate a specific place in your home for mental rest. Not for reading, not for scrolling, just for sitting quietly. When you sit in this chair, the only rule is no directed mental activity, just being. Let me tell you about Maria, who was a client of mine. She was a high-powered executive who prided herself on her ability to multitask and think on her feet. But she came to me because she was making careless mistakes, feeling overwhelmed by simple decisions, and experiencing what she called brain fog. When I suggested she try 15 minutes of daily mental rest, she laughed. "I don't have time to do nothing," she said. But she was desperate enough to try it. She started with just 10 minutes of sitting quietly in her office with the door closed. No phone, no computer, no agenda, just sitting. The first week was torture for her. Her mind was so accustomed to constant stimulation that quiet felt almost painful. But by week 3, something remarkable happened. She started having insights about work problems during these quiet periods. Her decision-making improved. She felt more creative and less reactive. After a month, she increased it to 20 minutes and said it was the most productive part of her day, not because she was doing anything, but because she was giving her mind the rest it needed to function optimally. Now I know what you're thinking. This sounds nice in theory, but I don't have time for mental rest. I have too much to do, too many responsibilities. And I get it. I used to think the same way, but here's what I discovered. Mental rest doesn't take time away from productivity. It makes productivity possible. Think of it like sleep. You don't consider sleep a waste of time because you understand that without it, you can't function. Mental rest works the same way. Without it, your mind operates at a fraction of its capacity. The resistance you feel to mental rest isn't about time. It's about addiction. We've become addicted to stimulation, to the feeling of mental busyness, to the illusion that a racing mind equals productivity. But just like any addiction, the thing you think you need is actually the thing that's depleting you. Here's a challenge that will prove this to you. For the next 3 days, give your mind 15 minutes of genuine rest each day. Set a timer, sit quietly, and let your mind exist without having to work on anything. Don't try to clear your thoughts. That's still work. Don't try to solve problems. That's still work. Just exist. Let thoughts come and go without engaging with them. Think of yourself as watching clouds pass by rather than trying to control the weather. After 3 days, notice, do you feel more focused or less focused? More creative or less creative? More emotionally balanced or less balanced? More like yourself or less like yourself? I'm willing to bet that 15 minutes of mental rest will improve the quality of your remaining waking hours more than any productivity hack you've ever tried. Your mind has been working overtime for far too long. It's time to give it the rest it deserves, not as a luxury, but as a necessity. Go to the comments and tell me, when was the last time you experienced genuine mental quiet? And if you're going to try the 15-minute mental rest challenge, let me know. Sometimes committing publicly makes all the difference. Speaking of mental rest, if you're someone whose mind truly never stops running, constantly analyzing, worrying, replaying scenarios, I actually just finished writing an ebook called The Overthinking Fix that you might find helpful. I've linked it in the description below. It dives deeper into practical ways to quiet an overactive mind and break free from the mental loops that keep you exhausted. No unrealistic promises, just honest insights about giving your mind the rest it actually needs. Take a look if it feels right for you. If this opened your eyes to something you hadn't considered before, give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more content that challenges how we think about productivity, wellness, and living consciously. Remember, your mind isn't supposed to run 24/7. Give it the rest it's been craving, and watch how everything else in your life improves.